G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So after a pretty intriguing 2022 AFL draft that is now in the books, in today's video we're going to be going over every AFL club's draft haul, giving it a review and also giving it a grade. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'd be much appreciated, and let's get into today's video. Rightio, kicking it off as per usual, going in alphabetical order, starting off with the Adelaide Crows. They managed to pick up 3 players in the national draft. Pick 17, 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴 𝐿𝐼, the tall defender, ability to play tall and small, a really talented player too, hence why Sydney did bid on them at pick 17, quite early for him. So that's sort of the downside that Adelaide had to probably use too many picks. Maybe they would have loved to see him maybe for 25 or past, and then they traded up to get Billy Dowling, a really high accumulating midfielder that is from South Australia, so he is in familiar territories, that is safe to say, and also tough as nails midfielder of 𝐓𝐡𝐞 So not a bad draft haul there. It's nothing special, it was expected. It was always going to be a pretty quiet draft after throwing the kitchen sink at Isaac Rankine, so I'm going to give them a solid C grade. 3, pretty good plays, 2 plays that will definitely help their midfield depth. And then you have 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴, who could be a very nice third tour defender in the years to come. Now moving on to the Brisbane Lions, and it was the expected draft haul, of course, picking up 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴 at pick 2 and pick 12 𝗏𝐴𝐴 𝐿𝐹𝐿𝐴. Straight up, it's an A+. I mean, these are 2 awesome talents, and where they are at the moment, the Lions bringing in 2 young elite midfielders, you just feel that this is the recipe to hopefully see him really bolster up the ladder and potentially make a grand final. They are just getting absolutely great plays left, right and centre. Awesome off-season, awesome draft. I mean, 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴, I feel like he's good enough to start round 1. He's a serious talent. I don't think he's talked about too much about seriously becoming, instantly, a year 1 good talent, but such a professional character. And then you've got 𝗏𝐴𝐴 𝐿𝐹𝐿𝐴, who shows class on both sides of his game. So they're just 2 awesome midfielders added into a really star-studded side. So an A+. I feel like we're going to go here with the Lions. Now moving on to the Blue Baggers, and I am going to be giving them a A grade. Absolutely sensational draft haul they did have, that is safe to say. Ollie Hollands at pick 11. They really need some really solid, good ball using, accountable outside run, and I think Hollands ticks all those boxes. He'll be able to play on a wing, whilst Walsh and Kennedy and Cripps just working in the coalface, as they were pretty exceptional. And of course, George Hewitt had him in there too. Pick 30, managed to pick up 𝐼𝐴𝐿𝐼𝐴 𝐿𝐼𝐴. Bit of a slider there, a great rebound defender with an awesome kick. Really helps out with their general defender stocks like the likes of Adam Sard. And then Jackson Binns, I guess, a nice value pick, I guess you could say as well. Another one similar to Holland, shows really strong outside game and great kicking and can hit the scoreboard, which is something Carlton does need. Forward to centre. And Harry Lemmy, I think they're absolutely stoked with picking this fella up, a young key forward. Apart from Teqoy, they don't really have a young key forward, so get him in, get him developed for a few years. He seems to be a nice project key forward, but just a great draft period there for the Blues, and an A grade is definitely justified. Moving on now to the Pies, and they had 3 selections in the national draft. Pick 19 Ed Allen, 28 Jacob Ryan, and 48 Joe Richards. I'm going to be giving them a B grade. I really like these selections. Ed Allen is sort of that, tall, potentially big body midfielder, showed really good athleticism and combine results. Probably his exposure is a little bit raw, but he could be absolutely anything. And I think for the Pies, his potential to be a big body midfielder would just be an absolute dream, really. And then Jacob Ryan, running defender, but the good thing about him is he shows really good running carry, which fits Collingwood's defensive system so well. So I feel like he fits in like a glove in their defensive scheme. And then pick 48 Joe Richards, they do take the punt on the bolter from Vic Country, speedy midfielder, could show a bit of X factor or razzle dazzle if he's good enough to make the ones. So I feel like a B grade. They're good selections, I really rate them. Now for the Dons, and they had a very productive draft haul, that is safe to say. Elijah Sardis at pick 5. For me, I thought it was always the right pick. I know the fans wanted Phillippo, but just where their list is at the moment, I feel like they've just got to go for safe, good footballers, and I think Sardis really fits that. And he does show pace. He's, yes, a big-bodied midfielder. He's at 186 centimetres. Could grow a bit more, so I feel like it fits, their needs nicely. They need that sort of big-bodied midfielder. But he's going to be an absolute superstar, you do feel. Pick 25, Lewis Hayes. So they just wanted to improve that mix with the likes of 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐎𝐥𝐿𝐼𝐴 and also Ridley and Zach Reid as well. So I think Reid and Lewis Hayes would show good competition in the offseason, you do feel. And then, of course, the Davey Jr. brothers to add a bit of X factor and also pressure forward to their side. So I feel like they tick their needs quite nicely. I'm going to be grading them a solid B+. Maybe we could even give them an A. But yeah, I just feel a B+ is a really nice sort of grade for Essendon. They drafted really well. Moving on now, we do have the Freo Dockers, and they were probably one of the more interesting teams out of any club with drafting this draft. They went with Hugh Davies at pick 33, one of WA's highest rated key defenders after buslinger. So yeah, a bit of a local talent there. We all know WA teams usually scout the WA players the best, so he could be a nice little depth player after the departure, of course, of Griffin Logue. And then they went with Tom Emmett and Corey Wagner, both mature age players. I think Wagner's around 25, Emmett's 21, so there's always a bit of downside to that. You expect a bit of an instant impact with those two types of players. But Emmett helps their medium forward sort of stocks, which I feel like they could drastically improve. And with Connor Blakely out of the side, Wagner could play a bit of a halfback role. And they did also pick up Noble, and I'm pretty sure in the rookie they also selected Liam Reedy. So they did pick up 2 rucks, similar to what they did in 2016 really, when they did take Shaun Dux and also Lloyd Meek. So a bit of a project ruckman there, which I don't personally mind, but I'm going to be giving Freo a C-. Just a lot of left field decisions. Still could be some absolute gems in those players that did pick though, but yeah, C- at this time of recording. Moving on now to the Geelong Cats, and of course they did pick up Jai Clark, pretty much expected. He was still available. I mean, as a pick really written in the stars, a young contested midfielder, pretty much like a Joel Selwood regen. It fits so well. Of course, they were pretty much bound to take him unless he was taken earlier. And then pick 52, they went with Phoenix Foster, the key forward/ruck from South Australia, which is a bit of a project player, of course. How good is it for him to work under the likes of Tom Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron? A bit of a project player, key forward. So I feel like it was a pretty neat little draft haul that the Cats did have. Only 2 plays, but a bit in the long run, they do look like great selections. And for Jai Clark, I mean, he could play first year and he could be an absolute superstar inside midfielder. I'm going to be giving the Cutters a B+. Very productive draft haul they did have. Moving on now to the Gold Coast Suns, and they only ended up having just the 1 pick in the draft. They were quite busy in the trade period, and they also picked up Jake Steen in the rookie draft. So a lot of mature age talent they did really trade in, so always going to be pretty quiet. They did take their man Bailey Humphrey at pick 6. They just in dire need of that mid-forward, sort of X-factor midfielder talent, and Humphrey could be an absolute revelation of an addition into the exciting young list the Suns do have. And they also did trade at a few of their later picks in this draft for future selections, which I personally don't mind because I feel like they get a little bit more of points for that, which they can use next year to bid on potential Gold Coast Academy selections. I think there's like 3 Gold Coast Academy players in the AFL Academy, so they're already preparing for next year. I'm going to be giving them B+. I think Humphrey is just such a good fit for him, and also bringing Jake Steen I really rate as well, just as a bit of defensive depth they desperately need, and they traded, I thought, really nicely to get a bit more points for bidding next year. Now moving on to the GWS Giants. Theoretically, they were a team that was expected to be one of the winners of the draft, but I don't think so necessarily, because the Swans, their crosstown rivals, did stitch them up a bit. They really rated Harry Ralston, so they did bid on him at 16, which forced the Giants to lose a pick, because they just did not expect that at all, as he was expected to go around pick 30. But of course that was matched. They lost that first round pick, which does hurt them a bit, because they really wanted to take Jacob Costanti. The Swans took him before him, so they did take Darcy Jones. Max Goreski is a really nice option as a bit of a swingman, and Toby McMullen, a massive bolter that can show his class in the forward line. And of course, Aaron Cadman as pick 1 there, generational, franchise key forward they desperately need. So I feel like the selections are good. Harry Ralston, quality play. Cadman as well. Darcy Jones, the small man, but shows his quality. I'm going to be giving them a B. But yeah, I would definitely give him an A or a lot higher of a grade. But just because I lost that first round pick through the Ralston bid earlier on, I just got to give him a B grade. Now for the Hawthorn Footy Club, and they were one of the most busiest teams in the 2022 AFL Draft. Of course, taking Cam Mackenzie at pick 7. In my opinion, always the best pick. It's similar, and I know the fans wanted 𝐓𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿, but for me, Mackenzie, similar situation. They're a young side, right at the start of the rebuild. They just need those safe, good footballers, well-rounded. So Mackenzie ticks the boxes there. And of course, a very interesting trade they did do to pick up Josh Weddle, pick 18. They wanted Sydney's pick 18, so they traded their future second and third, and also 27. So with the point system, that is massively overs. But sort of, I feel that it isn't as bad as what people think of a trade, because they actually already have another future second and third tied to the Bulldogs and I think Fremantle, so they can use those picks to, I'm pretty sure, bid on, I think his name's 𝐬𝐿𝐴, which is their father's son next year. So it sort of works out in a way, but they would have had so much leverage with those picks next year, so it's still massively overs. It isn't the greatest trade, but Weddle, they must really rate him, and to be fair, he looks like an absolute just super athlete that really did match up well in some of the NAB League's best forwards, like, of course, Aaron Cadman. Taking Henry Hustwaite, pick 37, really good value pick as that tall midfielder. Jack Sullivan as the mid forward, and Bailey McDonald as a bit of, defensive depth. So I'm going to be giving the Hawks a C grade. Maybe people think that's a bit too generous, but look, I still think the talent they did take was quite good. So yeah, I think a solid C for the Hawks. Now for the Demons, and it was a pretty quiet draft period, only picking up 2 players. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. They're in the prime at the moment with their list and the midfield. They just wanted to add a bit more to their spine. They did it sort of last year with taking Jacob Van Rooyen, and he had a really good first year. Matt Jefferson, though, was pretty much guaranteed. Just another, it's sort of a franchise key forward they still do need, because Tom McDonald and Ben Brown are getting on. And Jed Adams, another key back to add to their stock. So nothing special, just a simple C grade I'm going to be giving the Demons here. Now for North Melbourne, and they were simply one of the best performing teams out of anyone in the draft. I mean, with the picks they did have, it was expected. Guaranteed to pick up 𝐓𝐿𝐴 𝐻𝐵E at pick later in the draft, I should say, as their father-son selection. He's a really exciting looking one, sort of plays similar to his dad. That shows, his dual damage ability in the midfield and in the forward line. And yeah, pick 3 and 4 guaranteed. Harry Sheezel, George Wardlaw, Sheezel. They're just filling a massive need. They just need classy forwards, and that's what Sheezel offers, and a bit of a bolster in their contested game with George Wardlaw. And Brayden George, I really do like the pick there. Obviously won't play until 2024, I believe, but with the picks they did have, fair enough, they did take the punt on him, and just, yeah, it drastically improves their general forward stocks, so they really need to improve in that area. So yeah, I'm going to be giving the Kangas an A+. I think they seriously deserve it. They picked absolutely so well. It fits really important needs too. I think they did absolutely excellent. Moving on now to Port Adelaide's draft haul, and they just went straight in and picked up 3 key position players to improve their spine, which I personally don't mind at all. I feel like they've got some good plays, role plays or smaller plays around the ground, and of course recruited really well in the trade periods. They're always going to be quiet. So yeah, a bit of project plays in Tom McCallum from Tasmania as a tall defender. The likes of course, Cleary and Tom Jonas are getting on. Tom Scully was a highly rated key forward early in the year, so he could do absolute bits with the aging Charlie Dixon, and could really partner well with the likes of 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴 𝐻𝐵E and also Todd Marshall, and then Carl Marshall for another project key defender. So I'm going to be giving them a C+. Now, I've given them the plus just because of the upside that this does have, because it feels like maybe one of these players could be an absolute hidden gem and become a superstar. Moving on now to the Tigers, and after a pretty productive trade period, it was always expected they're going to have quite a quiet draft period with only selecting 2 players. Pick 49, Caleb Smith, the pacey sort of looking general defender that can really take the game on from Perth, and also Steely Green, the tough as nails inside midfielder. So I like what they've done here. They've gone with 2 small plays, but they show aggression, they show good pace, and it could add a bit of something into the Tigers list, which they do desperately need. I feel like they do need a bit of pace in the back half, and also in the midfield with a few aging midfielders like Dion Prestia, for example. So I'm going to be giving the Tigers a C+. Those are 2 nice selections that I feel like fits the needs, and maybe one of them could become a star. Now for St Kilda, and it was an absolutely awesome draft for them. I feel like if you're a Saints fan, you're over the moon with the players you did take. But Matthias Phillipou, finally, that Bontempelli or X-Factor midfielder has finally arrived at the club. For me, I just feel like the Saints need that 𝐵𝐺 or sort of X-Factor, or maybe a bit of a high arrogant player. They just need something that will really lift them, and just to hopefully a better ladder position in 2023. So 𝐓𝐿𝐴𝐴, I feel like it's the perfect selection. Will fit really nicely under their leaders of the likes of Jack Steele too. And at pick 31, James Van as a key defender, really known well for his one-on-one skills, which does have the potential to be thrown in and help out the likes of 𝘚𝐻𝐿𝐴 and Cal Wilkie. Ollie Houghton, quite a bit of a slider in the draft. They snapped him up as another just a outside midfielder that can show his class forward. That's just what the Saints need. And the Saints are absolutely stoked with this pick. You do feel 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐴, the ideal Paddy Ryder replacement. It is just absolutely perfect for him. I'm going to be giving the Saints an A grade. They blitzed at this draft period. Awesome 4 selections they did have. And yeah, I think if you're a Saints fan, you've got to be pretty stoked with that. Moving on now to the Sydney Swans, and they had quite an intriguing draft. Bidding on 2 plays, Harry Ralston and Max Michelini, then trading out their pick to the Hawks, which was probably the move of the night. I feel like the Swans really won that trade. A terrific value they did get for that. They really wanted future picks. That's what the news and the headlines was. That's what they wanted to do because they really rated next year's draft, and that does help with points to potentially bid on some high-rated Swans Academy talents if there is any next year, which most likely there will be, which is quite good. And then, yeah, their picks were interesting. I think Costandy's a really nice fit, though. Yeah, just a high-pressure defensive forward, which just adds to that Swans surge of forward pressure, which they really are good at, so it sort of adds to a strength there. And then Cooper Vickery and Caleb Mitchell, interesting selections, massive bolters. But yeah, Cooper Vickery, yeah, good ball playing small defender that yeah, has potential to lock down some of the competition's best small forwards. And Caleb Mitchell, a nice looking, just accountable, strong wingman. Yeah, a really high bolter though, that is an absolute fact there, and just could be a nice depth option. The Swans aren't in dire need of young talent, so these are just players that will hopefully develop nicely in their VFL system. I'm going to be giving the Swans a B-, probably around that C grade, but just because the trade was so good, that gives them the B grade. Moving on now to the Eagles, and they were certainly one of the best performing sides in the draft period, picking 5 plays and 5 good quality plays. I'm going to be giving the Eagles an A grade, yeah, a solid A. Picking up Ruben Ginbey and 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴, expected really. It was a great idea that they did split their picks. I felt like it was the right idea. They need not only good quality plays, but they need a lot of them. They need quantity, probably over quality in a way. So Ginbey was probably a top 5 pick, but since they were able to go down, good to see that they were able to take Ginbey pick 9 and also have another first round pick to take 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴. Just a, yeah, it was apparently he would have been a bit of a slider. That was the rumor, but just looking at his highlights, just a burst midfielder. I think he will do wonders for that Eagles side. And then, yeah, as I said, I got that correct in my mock draft. They did take Harry Barnett, dire need of a ruckman. 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴 they were really linked with as that sort of classy mid forward, and then Noah Long again to add to their sort of midfield and forward stocks. So yeah, an A grade for the Eagles. They absolutely blitzed it. And for the final team of today's video, the Western Bulldogs, a really underrated draft haul. I really do rate their picks. Of course, Jed Busslinger, they are quite elated that he was available at 13 and of course did snap him up. And yeah, just one of the best key defenders in this draft pool. They need a key defender, and now with him in the side, their spine of the Bulldogs, especially their young talent, is looking really good at both ends of the ground. So yeah, I think they're quite set for the long run with their key forwards and backs. Charlie Clark as a general forward, yeah, I mean, him teaming up with the likes of Cody Weightman, he's known to be a bit of a pest. That could be an absolute dynamic duo. And Harvey Gallagher, sort of like a halfback flanker. He was thrown in for halfway through the NAB League and just racked up the football. So he's a bit of a bolter, and I really like the look of him. You know, they do like their good ball using halfback flankers with Caleb Daniel and Bailey Dale. So I think Harvey Gallagher in that side, yeah, just fits in really nicely. So I'm going to be giving the Bulldogs a B+. Just a really good draft haul. They did have 3 quality plays into that Bulldogs side, I do have to say. So everyone, there is me grading every AFL team's draft haul for 2022. Of course, the true grades do occur in around 3 to 5 years time once these plays are fully developed and had a taste of AFL football. But of course, we don't know who's going to be a gun or not. It's all about maybe this player flops, maybe this player late in the 5th or 4th round could become an absolute superstar. We just base these grades off what we've known and what the player has been from what we have seen. And of course, draft needs to did play a part in these gradings. So feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to enjoy today's video, of course. And I'd love to hear your fellas' thoughts down below in the comments. These are always some quite debatable videos, and yeah, just love to hear your fellas' opinions. So everyone, once again, thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you wanted to enjoy, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.